Today we're going to take a look at how to find total earnings of a commission-based job. Before we tackle the problems, let's take a look at the vocabulary that you'll be running into as you work through some of these. Most 7th and 8th graders don't have jobs where they're going to be earning a salary or commission, so let's make sense of what these words mean before we begin. So when we're talking about a salary, we're talking about a fixed or a regular payment made by an employer to an employee. Sometimes we call that your base pay, and it can be expressed either monthly or annually. And annually means yearly. You'll see that used quite a bit throughout, okay, a yearly salary. There's also something called commission, and commission is something additional that somebody earns. It's a fee they earn for sales or services. Usually it's expressed as a percent of an amount. So for an example, maybe a car salesman makes 2.5% commission on the total car sales. So whatever he would sell for the cars that month, maybe he would earn 2.5% of that on top of his base salary. Okay, so that's added on. And then there's also fees that some people might earn. It can either be a fixed amount or a percent of an amount. One example of a fixed one would be maybe a banker gets a $50 fee per new customer that they sign up, okay? And then to get the total earnings that somebody makes, you would have to add their base salary plus the amount of their commission if they have it and any sort of fees that they have, and that's going to give you their total earnings. All right, let's try one. Ming works at a travel agency. Her base monthly salary is $1,750 plus an 8% commission on her total sales for the year. Last year, Ming sold $478,500 of travel. How much did Ming earn, including commission, last year? All right, well, let's kind of break this down here. Part A says use her base monthly salary to calculate her base annual salary. And we're looking for that because it's asking us how much she made last year, but they're only telling us how much she makes in a month. So how many months are in a year? 12, right? So we take our $1,750 that she makes each month and multiply that by 12 to figure out her base salary for the year. And I get $21,000, and I'm just going to put base for myself so I know what that's standing for, okay? Part B says write an equation to calculate her commission, Y, for any amount of sales, X. And again, we want an equation for this. So to figure out her commission, so Y equals, we need 8% of her total sales for the year. So I'm going to write 8% in decimal form, which we know is 0.08. So Y equals 0.08 times X, which would be her sales for the year. Okay, now for part C, we're going to actually substitute in her sales to figure out what her commission would be for this year. So using our equation, remember Y stands for our commission, is equal to 8% of her sales for the year, and last year she sold $478,500 in sales. So she's going to get 8% of that amount added on to her base salary. And so I am doing 478,500 times 8% in decimal form, so 0.08, and I find out that her commission for the year is $38,280. So that's her commission that's added on. And then to find her total earnings for the year, we need to add together the base annual salary plus her commission. And so we are going to take the $21,000 that we figured out she made for her base annual salary and add the amount that she makes in commission on top of that. And I get a grand total for the year of $59,280. And that is her total annual earnings, including her base salary and her commission. Next, we have Drake. He's an online sales rep who makes $37,500 per year plus a $6.75 fee for each sale that he makes. If Drake makes an average of 200 sales per month, what are his annual earnings? Well, a couple things stand out to me as I read this one. I notice that they're giving me his base annual salary, so I'm getting it per year, but then I'm also finding out how many sales he makes per month. And we're looking for his total annual earnings. So we're going to have to be really careful about years and months as we work through this problem. So part A says, what's his base annual salary? Well, that one was just given to us because they're telling us what it was each year. So he has $37,500. This is his annual salary. Okay, that's what he makes no matter how many sales he makes. Okay, next we're going to write an equation to calculate the fees for any number of sales. Well, he makes a $6.75 fee for each sale that he makes. So to get his fees, we take $6.75 and multiply that by the number of sales that he makes. So that's our equation we're going to use in order to figure out his fees. Okay, for part C, it tells us now substitute his annual sales into the equation to find his fees for the year. Now, one thing here that we know is that in the problem they tell us he makes 200 sales per month, but we want to know his annual earnings, so we're going to have to do a quick little calculation. If he does 200 sales per month and there are 12 months in a year, then that means that he's making 2,400 sales approximately every year based on his monthly average. So we can use that in our equation that we just wrote to figure out how much he makes this year. So to get our fees, we take $6.75 times his annual sales. Okay? And when I do that, I get a grand total of $16,200. And these are the fees that he's making. So to find his total earnings for the year, we add together his base salary, which we found was $37,500, plus the fees that he earned from his sales to get his grand total. $37,500 plus $16,200 gives me $53,700 annually, or for the year. So those are his total earnings. So the more sales that he makes, the more money he's going to earn in a year. Now, in some problems, you'll have somebody who has a base salary and they'll earn commission, plus they'll get a fee on top of that. So we're going to have even more calculations to do. Let's take a look at one. Taisha works in a mobile phone store and makes a base monthly salary of $1,600, plus a commission of 5% of the value of each phone she sells. In addition, for every new customer she sells to, she receives a fee of $17. If Taisha sold $18,000 worth of phones this month and had 26 new customers, how much did she earn for the month? Whoa, they're giving us a lot of information here. I find it helpful to write off to the side some things that we know just to kind of sum it up. So we know her base monthly salary is $1,600. Okay, this is per month. And then she gets a commission of 5% of the value of all the phones she sells. So I'm just going to say 5% of the sales. And then she also gets a fee for every new customer, and that is $17 per new customer. And I'm just going to kind of box that up over to the side because to me, I like to kind of see it off like that so I know what I'm working with here. All right, so now let's break this down. Part A says write an equation to find Taisha's commission based on her sales for the month. And we're using Y for the commission and X for the sales. Well, to find her commission, we need to take 5% of the value of her sales. Well, I know how to write 5% in decimal form, 0.05, right? We divide it by 100, and we multiply that by however many sales she has for any month. All right, so for part B, we're actually going to calculate it for this month by using our equation. So to get her commission, we take 5% of her total sales for the month, and in this particular month, she had $18,000 worth of sales. So her commission for this month would be 5% of 18,000. And when I multiply that out, I get her commission of $900 this month. I'm just going to kind of label that there. All right, now we want to write an equation to find her fees based on the number of new customers for the month. So this time Y represents our fees. Well, I know she gets a fee of $17 per customer, so Y equals 17 times X. And now for part D, we're going to use that equation to figure it out for this particular month. So $17 times the number of new customers she had this month, which was 26. So $17 times 26 is $442 in fees for the month. All right, and finally, we're going to add together her base salary, the commission, and the fees to figure out her total earnings for the month. Well, her base salary we knew up top was $1,600 plus her commission was $900 this month, plus her fees was $442. So when I add those three numbers together, I will figure out how much she makes in this 1 month. And she makes $2,942 in total. So to wrap it up here, in order to find the total earnings, you may need to calculate some amount of commission. You may also need to calculate some fees. And then in the end, you're going to add together that base salary, the commission, and the fees in order to get the total earnings. You're not always going to have all three of these, but this is the general formula for problems like this. One thing to really watch out for is whether they're giving you numbers for a month or for the year, because sometimes you'll have to convert back and forth in between. So be careful for that. If you want to stop the video now, you may. If you would like to try a problem by yourself, here's one that you can do to see how well you understand this concept. Pause the video, try it out, and then hit play to see how you did.